Now, Luke, you mentioned this Omega individual, this youngling. Holly, it strikingly looks like a young Boba Fett from Kamino, the animated Boba Fett that we saw.
Yeah, it made me think of that episode with Mace and Boba. Some of the expressions, yeah.
She's got some blonde hair though. She has that accent that we're used to hearing. What do you make of that? It looks like they're on Kamino at times. We see the Kaminoans, the cloners. Who is this little gal? Is she kind of another Boba Fett, so to speak? Like, not necessarily a clone, but like has the same genetic makeup as those guys, but is just something special that they were creating, or a force sensitive, or something different, right? It seems like she maybe is just kind of looking for a family, like, the Bad Batch have come together, being outsiders. Maybe she could be a new member.
I thought that when I watched the trailer, I did think that there was a resemblance to young Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I also think that these TV shows have a very distinct style of creating human faces.
Yeah,
and so
true.
I was like, I mean, that could just be the style of how these animators create these characters, and maybe it's not intentional. I know it sounds weird because we've always said that everything's intentional with these shows.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could be wrong, but at first I was like, oh yeah, looks similar. But then after that, I was like, doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah.
But I truly don't know.
She's got a cool bow thing.
The bow is
she
sweet.
seems to be kind of a fighter. Luke, do you have any idea who this person is? Could be a huge key to the show.
Yeah, I get what Holly's saying. I mean, everything sort of fits the motif of the show, so there's similarities amongst all the visuals to a certain degree. But I think there's some shots you see where it very much looks like they took the graphic model of a young Boba Fett, who's got this really kind of like baby face, rounded cheek thing going on, and this like little punky like look to his face, and just put like blonde hair on that. There's a couple shots where it really lines up, and so I think it almost certainly is a female clone from Jango's DNA, but definitely the biggest curveball surprise of the trailer for me. Like I said, we expect to sort of see characters we know from this era appear and come in and out of the story a little bit, and we've talked about those. But this character, we know nothing, and the biggest question is why? Why, if it is a clone of Jango, a female clone, why does she exist when all the other millions of clones are just sort of direct copies in being one male clones and being just straight up Jango clones outside of like the abnormalities that the Bad Batch represent. So the backstory about why she was created is something we're gonna, I imagine, have to find out in the show, but we're left with almost no information to go on at this point. So yeah, real head scratcher. Really intrigued about what's going to happen with her. I know when some people see like a little kid character, they get worried. They don't want to see like a little kid type character. But I think if you look at the young Boba Fett episodes of the Clone Wars, I think they did a good job with him. And we, in Ezra and Ahsoka, we grew to love and see them grow as they age and everything. So I don't think anyone should be worried about that, about it being like too kiddie, just because there's a kid character involved. So I am really intrigued and just confused and left a bit baffled by that character reveal.
I want to kind of piggyback off of what Luke said, because that's like something that kind of does bother me, is that when there are kids in shows and people immediately like write the show off, but like you're talking about Star Wars. You're talking about children who have had to grow up fast enough to be like, I have to act like an adult even though I am a 12-year-old child in the galaxy. And I feel like the children are very much a part of the big future of Star Wars because they're the ones who are going to grow up to be the Jedi. I mean, we had Anakin in the prequels and he was a little baby child.
Yep.
And like he was a crucial part of Star Wars. I mean, the most crucial part of the Star Wars stories that we know. And so I just hope that people don't come into this thinking like, oh, this is going to be like a childish show as opposed to a show with a child in it. Because I think that there could be a lot of good messages, and I think that there can be some really great, you know, scenes, and I'm excited for that because the one thing that the Clone Wars had was just, I mean, it's the Clone Wars, a lot of war, a lot of big action like that, a lot of very serious themes, but probably not super relatable for kids. And ultimately we are talking about an animated show that's made for children. It's not an animated show for adults like Archer or something like that would be. And so, I mean, they got to balance it. And I think that is going to be good.
Yeah. She's going to serve to tell that Star Wars cookie cutter mold story, right? Like kid on this world, probably never been off Kamino, just like Luke and Tatooine, just like little Anakin and Tatooine, just like Ezra Bridger and Lothal, kind of serving that, you know, no matter where you come from, you can do amazing things. And that's the inspirational story that captivates kids every time they tell it. Yeah, you're kind of getting that with the Bad Batch of like finding purpose and stuff, but you're still going to get that kid you're going to follow who got off. This kid seems like they got a heart of gold, right? They're like, how do you know? It's like, I know every single one of you. Like names them all, goes down the list, and then how can I help you? And then that kind of end scene, you see her kind of sitting back, looking like she's going through a starfighter, just shooting into hyperspace, and her eyes are lit up. It just, it's serving that purpose, and I think it's going to be interesting. There could be some big drops. Like, where does she come from?
I think that something that we've seen, I mean, we've talked about it extensively with The Rise of Skywalker. It was referenced in The Mandalorian. Like, we know that Palpatine's got his little peeps out there trying to clone, and he has his own ulterior motives for having clones and stuff. So I don't think we know that he has a granddaughter later down the line. So I don't think that it is too far-fetched that for some reason someone would encourage some testing of some clones for purposes other than creating soldiers.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, I mean, just like Boba Fett, right? Like we saw Fennec Shan. She looks a little more evil than when we last saw her in The Mandalorian. So maybe she's not exactly a good person at this point. Maybe she is tasked with going and finding the Bad Batch as a bounty hunter or something. Maybe Boba Fett is also tasked and they run into each other. And you might see kind of a Cara Dune, Din Djarin fight and become great friends. I don't know. That could be something like that. Boba finds out he's got a long-lost sister. I don't know.
Well, and then later we get the Book of Boba coming out, right? So
is she hanging out with them there on Tatooine? Wouldn't that be cool? Maybe
Del Rey told us everything has a purpose.
Everything's connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's a lot there. It's kind of ambiguous as to what the story is going to be told, but you can kind of piece some things together. So it's surprising. The name of the Omega. What does Omega mean? I don't know. I just remember, Omega was a big part of Smallville.
The end, right? To some degree.
The end of the cloning process. Maybe this is our end goal, was to build this, create life that could do these sorts of things. Maybe that was the end goal, the end. I don't know. I like that, Luke. She was the perfect creation, maybe.
She has some special features of some sort, some special attributes.
She's got a jetpack built into her back or something. That'd be crazy. But I think there could be some cool connections. And you're right, Holly, the Book of Boba Fett, this could get us ready for that, right? I mean, I think that's awesome.